Hello, welcome to this new video. My name is Martina Vincenzi and I am the founder of the VIP Flight Attendant Academy Private Jet Coach. You know, the other day I was having a conversation with a friend of mine. She is cabin crew in the airline and she was telling me about her last flight, and I was telling her what happened during my last rotation, and then I did say something that really surprised her, and it took a while for her to understand what I was talking about. And basically this thing is that I told her that during a flight I had been offloaded from the jet because there wasn't space for me. So she was very surprised, and she asked me to repeat that a couple of times, like, well, what do you mean? Why there was not space for you? I mean, don't you have a dedicated seat for yourself? Yes, I do. But you know, when you fly on a private jet, you are a flight attendant, you are not a cabin crew. The private jets, they are up to 19 seats. And there is like one seat which is dedicated for the flight attendant, which is called the crew suite. And eventually, some of the jets, but not all of them, in some of the jets there is also a third jump seat in the flight deck, so eventually that's also another extra seat. So what happens if you have 19 customers in the cabin? So all the seats are sold, and by the way, this is something quite, I would say, rare to happen. It happens quite seldom because the average number of customers you have on a private jet is 2.5. So either you have 2, either you have 3, maybe you have 2 and 1 dog, but this is the amount of customers we normally carry on board the private jets. So to be full house is something actually very impressive, and that doesn't happen every day at all. So anyway, this is my story. I was assigned to this jet. It's actually a medium-sized jet. So medium-sized jets, they have a little bit less than 19 seats. In specific, that jet had 9 seats. And usually there is no jump seat in the flight deck in this type of jet. So usually for takeoff and cabin, either I sit in the cabin with my customers, or in specific this jet, as well as many other jets, they have a belted toilet. So your seat, or the seat dedicated to the flight attendant, which is a certified seat, is basically you sit on top of the toilet cover. And there are seat belts that you can use, obviously, for takeoff and landing. So this is where I normally sit when I fly that specific jet. And well, this is a seat that can be sold to customers as well. So in my case, there was a group of people, all family or friends, I actually don't know, but anyway, they were traveling all together, and there were the 9 of them. So means that one of them, in order to carry them all, one of them was actually meant to be seated on the toilet, which was supposed to be my seat. And because there is no seat in the flight deck, I had been offloaded, and the pilots continued for that flight without me. So what happened? I was in a city, and in the morning the pilots, we were in Nice actually, so in the morning the pilots say goodbye. They took the taxi, they went to the airport, and they performed the flight with the 9 customers. And at the same time I took an airline, and I've been positioned somewhere else to the next destination, where I joined again with the pilots, and we continued together for the rest of our rotation together. So I know it sounds probably crazy for people who are not familiar with the industry of the business aviation, but here is the thing. In the business aviation, again, I cannot stress you enough on this. We are flight attendants, we are not cabin crew. Being a flight attendant means that for the majority of the aviation authority in the world, you are not considered as vital crew member, okay? You are not there for safety and security. So therefore, if if there is, a situation like this that they have to sell your seat, you're just going to be offloaded, and that's the end of the story. I have to say that I was quite grateful that I wasn't on that flight, because the flight was long enough but not too much in order to perform a complete service, but having a full house in such a small environment is actually quite scary because it's really overcrowded. So at the end of the day, I was quite happy to be left alone and to be left back by the pilots. They were not so happy because they had to perform the service then instead of me. Still, you are flying on a private jet, so people are expecting something, So yeah, this is what happens sometimes. Again, if it is one of the heavy jets, so heavy jets or ultra long range, you have either the crew suite, which is the seat dedicated for the flight attendant, or eventually there is also another extra jump seat in the flight deck. But if you're flying a different type of jet, or maybe that the features of the jet has been changed according to the owner's requirements or according to the owner's needs, well, there is then no seats for you, and therefore you are left behind. This is the professional figure of the VIP flight attendant is probably one of the biggest contradiction of the business aviation. This has been going on since the beginning of the time, so since ever. And it's like that. That doesn't mean that we are less than a cabin crew, not at all. It means that our let's say the impact that we have in the cabin is definitely very different. The authority is completely different. But all in all, the reason why we are there is also for safety and security. So we actually do perform, cabin preparation for takeoff and landing. We do take care of all the things that normally a cabin crew takes care. But, from the legal point of view, again, for many countries, for many aviation authorities, well, we are, let's say, we fall under a different type of category. And yes, and so this is what can happen sometimes, that you're just left behind. This do not happen if you're flying on big jets like an Airbus or a Boeing converted into a private jet. So imagine like a normal Airbus, a 340, 320, whatever. But they have been going through an internal refurbishment, and in the entire jet there are maximum 19 seats, so it's still a private jet, but the tonnage of the airplane is obviously higher because it's bigger. So then that's a different story. That's where you need to have you fall actually under the category of cabin crew. Sometimes, not always, but yeah, more likely you will eventually fall in the category of a cabin crew. So this is another, funny story of the business aviation industry. Let me know if this is something that happened to you as well. Let me know how did you feel, because sometimes the sensation to be left behind because there is no space for you, it makes you feel like not so well, not so good. So if this is something that happened to you, let me know how did you take it, what happened, in what circumstances this was one of your experience. And yeah, as always, if you have any questions regarding private jets, business aviation, VIP flight attendants, and any other curiosity about this industry, just let me know. And in the meantime, I send you baci baci.